Today I want to talk about one of the strangest games that I've played on the Nintendo Switch that I found buried within the cosmic depths of the eShop, and that is a game called Pill Baby. Now, I actually played this for the first time a few years ago, but recently I replayed it for a second time, and afterward I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do a review of this because why not? Who else? Nobody else is gonna do it, so I'll be the guy who talks about this game. Now, I'm sure you can tell just by looking at it. You're probably thinking this game is weird, it is wacky, it is quirky, and you would be 100% right. This game is really trippy, it is off kilter, it is really left field, and it leans into all of those things. And for better or worse, it is a true one of one. Now, out the gate, I'm not going to say that this is a great game. It has its quirks, it has its flaws, but honestly, after playing it through 2 times, it's actually not half bad. Pretty decent, actually, I would say. So the story is you play as Anna, who is an immigrant. She moves to a new country where she lands a new job, and the game is pretty much her struggle of being an immigrant, which includes, struggling with just adjusting to a new life, feeling lonely, trying to navigate relationships, unpacking her own inner demons, trying to overcome language barriers, which we're going to circle back to later in the game because that does actually affect some of the gameplay. And speaking of the job, Anna's job is a guardian, where her job entails that she fights these little parasite creature thingies who have wacky names such as Attention Whore, or some of them have regular names like Jonathan. Shout outs to Jonathan. But yeah, gameplay wise, it's kind of a hack and slash. I guess a little bit of a beat 'em up. It does feel a little stiff. The game is not super fluid. It feels a slightly not super polished, but I would say the combat is deeper than what you think it might be on the surface. As you go through the town and you meet different people, you're going to meet somebody named Betty who works at a diner, and she's going to be where you can purchase upgrades. Upgrades include, things like buying new moves, new combos. You can buy gloves, which the gloves have like their own little superpowers attached to them, like dealing poison damage and things like that. You got little side passive upgrades that you can get. Anna has a drone that you can also purchase, and a drone, or each drone has their own special abilities, so you can purchase those and help you in battle. And she has a decent array of combos, some air attacks. You can jump and dash, which you will definitely need to do while you're playing this game. And yeah, you're just gonna be, you work for this agency. Y'all get rid of the parasites, so they send you to these different areas. Sometimes you got a partner with you. You have other characters at the agency who you'll get to meet. And sometimes they'll be with you, or sometimes you'll be solo. You just run through these areas, you punch, you kick, and you fight for your life, and you get rid of these weird little parasites. You get into some wacky boss fights, and it's a decent time. Like I said, it's not the greatest combat in the world. Like I said, it's kind of stiff, and that's kind of like my main critique of the combat, is how stiff it kind of feels, but it's not that bad. It's passable. And like I said, for a game that just looked like this, I saw this cover on the eShop. I didn't know what I was getting into. But I was surprised that like they did put some work into the combat in terms of the depth and like just the amount of moves that you can do. So I do want to give props for that, even though it doesn't always feel the best. They did put some work into it. But when you're not fighting, when you're not in the field doing missions, they have side missions you can do. You can do those to earn some extra cash, which you can use to purchase, more upgrades and things like that. But you also get to go around town. You get to meet the locals, and everybody in this town is kind of weird, man. Everybody's got their own little weird little side story going on. But the language barrier, which I mentioned earlier, comes into play here. So when you first start meeting people, there are going to be times where Anna just can't fully understand what people are saying, so she can't fully have conversations. There are like certain signs that she can't read, and I do enjoy that like they really did make that part of the game to kind of add in and just drive home the struggle of being an immigrant, and how that language barrier does play a part in how like you connect with people. But as you progress through the game, you do missions, you do side missions, your language level will go up, so eventually you'll be able to understand people, and then y'all can have like full-blown conversations, and then you really get to dive into some of the strange folks that are around town. Everybody's kind of, like I said, a little off kilter. Everybody's got their own little thing going on in their own little world. But I do enjoy the dialogue. I kind of wish this had voice acting because there's some really wild dialogue in here. You also get to meet Anna's mother, and she's a whole character, man. They have some they have some interesting back and forth conversations. But I would say, like, underneath the quirkiness, underneath all these kind of wacky personalities, there is like substance here. Like, they really do dive into that struggle of, her being lonely and her trying to connect with people and things of that nature. And I think that part of the game is actually endearing. As wacky as it may look, as crazy as you'll see some of these cutscenes, I'm pretty sure you'll see it in the footage. Some of this stuff you're gonna be looking at like, what is even happening right now? But it actually does have substance into it. It's just wrapped in this really just kind of abstract kind of package. Speaking of abstract, soundtrack, I thought this game was actually pretty quality, man. Very, very indie, which is, fits the game. Across different genres, got some indie rock, you got some abstract kind of tracks, a little bit of hip hop in there, and I really like how they did the jukebox. When you go to the diner, you just pay 1 coin and you can listen to a song in the jukebox. And I like how they put like the cover art of the songs in the jukebox. I thought that was a nice little touch. But yeah, not a very long game. You can beat this in 2 hours. If you want to fully flush out some of the conversations, I would say play it through for a second time. Because you'll have the language skills fully upgraded, so then you can really see how some of like the side stories play out, and it just adds a little more depth to the town if you want to go through it a second time. But not a very long game, not a I wouldn't say a super difficult game, unless you want to crank up the difficulty and make it that hard. But like I said, even on the first playthrough on normal, I finished this in about 2 hours, and it's not anything groundbreaking in terms of combat. But it has a decent amount of variety to somewhat make up for the kind of lack of polish and the kind of stiffness that it kind of has. But I don't know, I enjoyed the personality of this game, this really weird kind of comic booky art style, but then the cutscenes have like this just weird feel to them, and even little things like when you go to the diner and you eat, the way they animate that cutscene when Anna's eating. It's a lot of personality into the art of this game. The way they weave the art, the personality, and the emotions. It all connects. It works. It just looks kind of wild, but like I said, there's substance there. It just looks. It's packaged in a way that you just probably don't really see often. But there's definitely some substance here. But yeah, I thought this was a solid game, man. It's like $9.99. I have it on the Switch. This is also available on Steam. I'm not sure what other platforms it is on. I'll try to put that in the intro of this video. But no, I had a pretty decent time with this. This has less than 100 reviews on Steam, so truly a hidden gem. Like I said, buried within the depths of the eShop, and I'm pretty sure buried within the depths of Steam. But not a bad game, man. Pretty decent game for $9.99. You could do a lot worse. But yeah, I just wanted to give Pill Baby a little shout out. Cool little weird little abstract game. But that's all I got for today, man. My name is Serial Sensei. Y'all stay safe. Y'all stay hydrated. And I'll catch you on the next one.